This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. All right, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. It means it's time for me to do my bold prediction for this week's games, or at least some of my bold predictions for this week's game. Pittsburgh Steelers, Monday Night Football. The matchup isn't as big of a deal as it was last week, right? Matchup-wise, nationally, I feel like playing the Bengals, for people who aren't Browns fans, who aren't invested in Browns history, seems like a bigger deal than playing the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road on Monday Night Football, because the Steelers just don't project to be as good as a team as the Cincinnati Bengals. But if you are a Browns fan, if you have been around the AFC North, if you know anything about this team, this city, you know that this game is the big one. And it's not only because it's a rivalry, right? Because Cincinnati is technically a rival of the Cleveland Browns. Every AFC North team has a real rivalry with the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns have a real rivalry with them, and all those teams have rivalries within each other. It's funny, when DeShaun Watson played his first division game, especially his first Browns-Steelers game, they asked him, hey, who was your rival in the AFC South? And he was like, I don't know, because that team was, that division's full of like teams that don't have that much history. It's like Jacksonville, which just got there. They were an expansion team. They have Houston, who was an expansion team recently, not recently, but like within the last 20 years. You have Tennessee, who quasi expansion team. They moved from the Houston Oilers into there. So like, it's this weird thing where it's not really a rivalry. It's just the old franchise. But I don't think people in Houston and Tennessee see it that way, or maybe they do. I just never heard of a Houston Tennessee rivalry. I've never seen them really go at each other like that. And then with the Colts, who got relocated, you know, there's not a lot of history in that division for whatever reason. The AFC North, there's a ton of history, right? Browns Steelers goes back to the origins of, well, not the origins, but it goes far back into NFL lore. Browns Bengals goes all the way back to the 60s with Mike Brown and everything. And then Browns Ravens is the newest one that goes all the way back to the 90s with the Browns being moved and all the stuff with Art Modell and all that. Like, there's basis for good rivalries everywhere in the AFC North. So I don't want to discount a rivalry, but the Browns Steelers thing, it means more. One, because it's Browns Steelers, right? And I don't care how good any other team in the North is. Browns Steelers is Browns Steelers. Like, if Ohio State and Penn State were the two best teams in the Big Ten for the last 10 years, and when they played each other, it was the biggest game in the Big Ten, it still would not hold a candle to Ohio State, Michigan, because it doesn't matter. That's the game. That's the one, right? Browns Steelers, specifically Browns Steelers in Pittsburgh, has been the one that has always caught Browns fans' eyes, because the Browns have not won in Pittsburgh in the regular season with fans in the building since 2003. They beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in 2020 in the playoffs, but no fans in the building. It kind of feels weird, right? This is the first time that they get to play Pittsburgh with fans in the building, and I think a lot of us are anticipating that, and I think that's why, you know, we're excited about what we did against the Bengals, what the Browns did against the Bengals, but also we're understanding that, hey, we've looked good against them at home before, and it's been a mirage. We've never looked good in Pittsburgh in the regular season since, like, this team's come back. It's hardly ever happened. If you look good in Pittsburgh, you feel a lot better about your team's ability to win in the playoffs, to win for the rest of the season. I think it'll take a load off everybody's back. But let's talk about some of my bold predictions for this game, some pieces, some points in this game that I think are going to be interesting. And let's start with Dawand Jones, because a lot of talk has been about Dawand Jones. Will he be able to hold up to TJ Watt? Is this too much responsibility to him? And I think my bold prediction is Dawand Jones will be fine. I think he matches up well with TJ Watt. I think that TJ Watt will have a sack, but I don't think Dawand Jones is going to be the one that gives that up. So I think Dawand going to be fine. That's my bold prediction. I think the rookie's going to hold up well. We're going to be really excited about that. Some of that we're going to come back on because I think it's just more of a matchup thing. We're going to hear, oh, DeJuan Jones shut out TJ Watt. Think he's fine against everybody. He's not, right? We've seen guys like Nolan Smith give him issues. The smaller, bendy guys, those are the guys that tend to give him issues, not necessarily the big, brawly guys like a TJ Watt. So I think Dawand is going to be fine there. Let's talk about the other thing that I think is going to be a favorable matchup. MJ Emerson on George Pickens. I love this matchup for MJ Emerson. If you look at the tape, and when my film breakdown comes out tomorrow, you'll see even more of it. You look at the tape, Martin Emerson was hunting back shoulders on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all game. He was ready for them. He knew what to watch, what keys he had, and when to guess for it, and he was successful with it. And one thing with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens is they love going back shoulder. That's the only thing they can really do in the passing game between the two of them that they've done consistently, right? And it's never been in the middle of the field with George Pickens. It's kind of been this limited route tree, outside fade, back shoulder throws. MJ Emerson is a uncharacteristically good matchup for George Pickens. I think also he matches up well with George Pickens physically. George Pickens is another guy who likes to get super physical at the line of scrimmage, likes to use his length and his aggressiveness to win battles at the line of scrimmage to get those 50-50 balls. Well, now he's meeting his match in MJ Emerson, another guy who likes to fight on that line of scrimmage, who likes to use his hands, who likes to get physical and gets physical with the best of them. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. I hope the Browns allow MJ to play as much on George Pickens as possible, because I wouldn't be surprised if early on they try it against MJ, and by the end of the game, they're desperately trying to find a way to get George Pickens on like Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome, because they want nothing to do with MJ Emerson in that matchup with those two. I think this is going to be a game where you're going to see Juan Thornhill's impact. I expect him to have a turnover or create a turnover or be a part of creating a turnover, because if you look at where Kenny Pickett has struggled, it's been at the middle of the field. He has not been a great passer in the middle of the field. The Browns are going to pretty much say, hey, we're going to clamp the outside with our elite corners, and we're going to force you in the middle of the field. And I think guys like Grant Delpit, guys like Juan Thornhill, they're going to be hunting for a mistake, a missed ball, a mistimed throw. They're going to be hunting for that mistake. And I think the note in that room for those safeties is, hey, it's going to come to you. You just got to catch it, right? The old Ryan Clark, Eli Manning joke. That's the note in that safety room. I'm pretty sure the safety coach for the Browns is telling them, hey, it's going to come to you. It's going to pop off somebody's shoulder. It's going to pop off somebody's hands. It might get tipped at the line of scrimmage, but when Kenny Pickett goes into the middle of the field, if we make him throw at the middle of the field 10 to 15 times in this game, it's going to come to you. You're going to get an interception opportunity. You just got to catch it. Greg Newsome, also going to be a very important person in this matchup. Those three guys have a real opportunity to get some turnovers in this game. It's going to come to them. They just have to catch it. Easier said than done, but I think those opportunities are going to be there based on what we've seen of Kenny Pickett and where he struggled with in his entire NFL career so far. I think this is also going to be a Nick Chubb game. The Browns have not been able to run the ball super successfully, super consistently against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Cam Hayward has always been there. The absence of Cam Hayward might be a benefit for the Browns. Now, who knows? Keanu Benton might get in there and prove to us that he's him, and that he needs more snaps in this Steeler defense. But no Cam Hayward's going to make a difference for that run game. I think they're going to be able to take advantage of some of the stuff that they're going to do to try to confuse Jed on that edge and confuse DeJuan Jones and be able to run right through it. I don't think that their linebackers are particularly dominant, and I think it takes dominant linebackers in order to do anything against Nick Chubb. And I think that the Bengals have better linebackers than they did. I think Jermaine Pratt was better, and they couldn't do anything with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had an easy, 5.9 yards per carry against him. I expect the same to happen here. And I think Elijah Moore is another guy who's setting up to have a good day against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's interesting because the Steelers go from playing the 49ers to playing the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Browns and the 49ers like to do similar things, especially with Elijah Moore in that Debo position, and obviously with Debo in that Debo position, right? So I think that this is going to be a game for Elijah Moore. They're going to use some of those exploits there, try to take advantage. I think also David Njoku is going to be somebody you can look for having a good game. I don't think anybody's going to go crazy but I think you're going to have solid games here. And I think DeShaun Watson, my big bold prediction for him is that he's going to be held under 230 yards and probably like 2 touchdowns. That's the most I would expect from him in this game. Not because I think he's going to play bad, but I think the Browns are going to have success running the ball. I think they're going to have success defensively, and it's just not going to require a heroic passing effort for DeShaun. If that becomes the case, I think he's more than capable of doing it, but I wouldn't expect him to have a huge game. And then on the other end, Myles Garrett, I expect him to have 2+ sacks. He's finally going to get a one-on-one opportunity with guys like Dan Moore. He's finally going to get these one-on-ones in the middle of the field. He's going to get these centers hooked up in the middle of the field one-on-one. I think he's really going to have a tremendous day. Kenny Pickett is still closer to a rookie than he is a veteran player, so I think there's going to be some opportunities for him to get some sacks. I think there's going to be a lot of pressures created on this Steelers offensive line, and I think the Browns are going to be able to take advantage of that because they're going to be able to shut out the outside and then hold that middle field closed for Kenny Pickett to be a little bit confused where to go with the ball. I think he's going to be a little gun shy. You're going to be able to get to him. Those are my bold predictions for this week. Let me know what your bold predictions are down in the comment sections below. Do you think that Kenny Pickett's going to have a good game versus the Browns? Do you think that DeShaun's about to go off? Is this about to be his coming out party for the Cleveland Browns? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.